Hi, my name is Amira Zulaika binti Ruslan.
Hi, I am Amirah Balkis.
Hi, my name is Nurul Akila.
Hi, I am Nurul Husna.
Do you know what environmental cost is? How about environmental benefit?
Environmental cost is the cost of preventing, monitoring, and reporting the environmental consequences, as well as the cost of failing to comply with the environmental standard. It all relies on how management handle the environmental costs that arise as a result of the business operations. The information on environmental costs is crucial for the companies committed to sustainability since it may influence the product and cost estimations. So here we have provided you with a few examples of environmental costs. The first one is the capital cost for pollution mitigations or installations of emissions control equipment required to permit or license the project. Second one is all operating and maintenance costs for operating of pollution mitigations or control equipment. The third one is the cost of permit fees and emission fees as applicable. And lastly is the cost associated with the disposal and cleanup of hazardous material introduced to the site, disposal of battery cells, and decontaminations or remediations on or off the site, necessities by the introduce of such hazardous materials on the site. Next, for the environmental benefit, it is a benefit received by the organizations as a result of the action done to minimize the environmental impact. We move on to the purpose of environmental costs. The first one is to assist the company in complying the applicable law and regulations imposed by the authorities. Next, to evaluate the feasibilities of a project and determine whether the benefit outweigh the costs. Lastly, is to encourage the companies preserve the environment by implementing recycle program to support the Go Green campaign. We have 5 tiers of environmental costs, which is conventional costs, hidden costs, contingent costs, relationship and image costs, and lastly, societal costs. Conventional cost is a direct cost that can be found in the most business accounting system and normally captured in the engineering economic evaluations. However, it is possible that the information will not be published in the format that allows the management to easily assess the organization's environmental expenditure. For instance, fuel and gas may affect the environment. Hidden cost is the cost that can be found in the organization's accounting system, but it may be hard to discover and report since it is frequently hidden in several overhead accounts such as wages costs. The hidden cost is also arise from the activities like monitoring and reporting the environmental, searching for an environmentally responsible supplier, and also the ongoing cost of clean up the contaminated land in order to comply with the regulations. Contingent cost is a cost that may be incurred in the future and recognized within the organization internal report. It also being disclosed in the notes to the financial statements and included in the external report of the organizations, but only if the organization failed to pay any fines and penalties for non-compliance with the regulations. For example, the cost of remedying and compensating for the future accidental release of substance in the environment. Contingent liability cost is often limited to the cost that may be arise from the existing legal actions. Relationships and image costs. Fewer tangible costs and benefits that represent exceptions of multiple stakeholders, which are difficult to evaluate objectively and are rarely assessed in a typical information system. The cost is voluntarily incurred for the environmental purposes only. Usually, it includes the cost of annual environmental report and community relations activities. Lastly, societal costs. This cost is really hard to measure and detect, especially when it comes to estimating the impact. Usually, the specialized environmental expertise is required. It is also the cost that organizations impose on others, such as environment and society, for which they may not be held legally liable, and the legal system cannot compensate them.
for example, the cost of natural resources such as river.
What is environmental cost-benefit analysis? It is a comparison of the cost of an activity versus the benefit of those activities so that the organization can choose the most cost-effective alternative for managing or reducing environmental impact. It enhances a clear picture of decision-making process that requires the decision maker to consider all the proposed decisions' positive and negative consequences, whether it is directly or indirectly. In using this analysis, there are a number of steps involved, specifying clearly the project or program, describe qualitatively and quantitatively the inputs and outputs of the project, estimate the social costs and benefit of these inputs and outputs, compare these benefits and costs that arise from the project. The first step is specifying clearly the project or program. This step involves making a decision on the project's or program's main component. For instance, if a company makes tires, we should investigate the factory's location as well as the people who work there. As a result, once we have those informations, we will examine if the factory's area is polluted. If the factory's area is polluted, we need to know what laws and regulations are in place to address it. What are the factory's waste disposal practices, public waste treatment plants, and hazardous materials that the factory could produce? This will make the following step easier if the company is familiar with all of these elements. The second step is describe quantitatively and qualitatively the inputs and outputs of the project. For example, when a company is planning a wastewater treatment project, the project personnel will be able to provide a complete plan specification as well as the input needed to develop and maintain it. As a result of having this information, it enables the company to determine the cost of the project's input and output, which making it easier for the company to proceed to the next step. The third step is estimate the social cost and benefit of these inputs and outputs. This step is to make all the data we gathered previously in value, since the using of cost-benefit analysis, all the inputs and outputs must be valued in terms of money. Hence, this will measure the cost and benefit of it. For example, probably the benefit of this analysis would improve water quality while also preserving species and animal mortality. While for the incurred costs, it involves higher prices for consumer goods, taxes paid to the government by the corporation, the expense of developing a water treatment plant, and the expense of practicing proper waste disposal from the factory. The fourth step is compare these benefits and costs that arise from the project. This step enable a company to choose the best and effective possible choice. In order to do so, simply subtract the total cost from the total benefit in order to obtain the net profit. Positive net profit shows the cost benefit is positive and vice versa. In making the decision, the company must choose the option with the highest benefit to cost ratio. In conclusion, this strategy involves a company attempting to bring all the relevant costs and advantages to the same level in order to assist people in making rational decisions. Companies are accountable for resolving waste issues by producing an environmental report that can provide a marketing benefit when company demonstrating their environmental consciousness. It may also promote in the improvement of a company's relationship with key stakeholders such as investors, suppliers, and the local community at large. So, there are 4 categories of environmental costs that should be included in the environmental report. So here is the example of environmental cost report. As you can see, there are 4 types of costs that need to be added in order to get the total environmental cost. The first one is prevention costs, the second one is appraisal costs, the third one is internal failure costs, and the fourth one is external failure costs. The preventive costs are the costs incurred to avoid or reduce the production of waste in the first place. This is because it is far preferable for the company to prevent defects than to identify and eliminate them from products. The example of preventive costs includes the cost for improvement of manufacturing processes, workers' training, quality engineering, and statistical process control. Appraisal cost is all costs associated with operations undertaken during the manufacturing processes to ensure that the firm complies with required regulations and voluntary standards. The example of appraisal costs includes the cost of environmental compliance employees and the cost of environmental protection process verification. The third cost is internal failures cost. These costs incurred when an organization eliminates environmental impacts in which it is a result of actions that lead in pollutants and waste that were not released into the environment. For example, the cost of storing and disposing hazardous waste, and rework costs for products not meeting environmental standards. External failures costs. These costs incurred as a result of activities carried out after waste has been discharged into the environment and damage occurred outside of the company. The example of these external failures costs is cleanup environmental problem when there is oil spills or polluted river. It also includes the costs for tree replacement program if the company had caused forest degradation.
Why business should manage its environment?
I know. Let's ask Amira to give further explanation on this.
There are a few reasons why business should manage its environment in controlling the costs and benefits. The first one is to increase overall profitability. When business operations cause significant environmental damage, the causes of recovery may be great enough to cause a business to fail and may bring about lawsuits that may take years to close. Hence, by managing the business environment, it will make the risk of getting lawsuits and penalties to a low level. This will relatively make the environmental costs reduce and profit of a business improves. The second one is to improve sustainability. Reducing the environmental impact of a business will improve its sustainability. If the business is less dependent on natural resources as compared to their competitors and also have ways to deal with the rising costs due to climate change, that business will have a greater chance of long-term success. The third one is to increase business reputation. By managing the environment, the image of a business will increase. People may be more likely to support a business that cares about its impact on the environment. Besides, it will make the business different from other businesses as they promote an environmentally friendly method. More new customers will be attracted and wanted to give support to this kind of business. And the last one is to improve work health and safety. By reducing the use of industrial chemicals and less waste, workplace health and safety will improve. For example, businesses that produce eco-friendly cleaning products which are plant-based and 100% biodegradable, where it does not contain harmful artificial chemical, will most likely not endanger employees' health, resulting in happier and healthier employees.
On October 2020, Apple has released its new smartphone, which is the iPhone 12 series, and Apple claims that as part of their effort to reach their environmental goals, iPhone 12 series are not include a power adapter or earpods. Included in the box is only a USB-C to Lightning cables that support fast charging and is compatible with USB-C power adapters and computer ports. This is because Apple want to encourage the users to reuse their current USB-A to Lightning cables, power adapters and headphones, which are compatible with these iPhone models. This is because just as single-use shopping bag contribute to plastic waste, unused and discarded electronic appliances will contribute to electronic waste, which is e-waste. E-waste includes different forms of discarded electrics and electronic appliances that are no longer of value to their owners. This can include mobile phones, televisions, computers, charger, keyboards, printer and earphones. Currently, there are about 4.78 billion mobile phone users globally, and mobile phone charger alone generate more than 51,000 tons of e-waste per year. On this basis, the environment would greatly benefit if more users reuse phone chargers and if technology companies encourage a shift to standardized charging that work across different mobile phone brands. This would eventually lead to a reduction in the manufacturing of charger and potentially less exploitation of natural resources. Apple's decision to ship phones without charger would reduce the use of precious materials. A smaller product box would let Apple fit up to 70% more products onto shipping pallets. This will lead to reducing the carbon footprint from the shipping. A carbon footprint can be defined as the total amount of greenhouse gas emission caused directly and indirectly by a person, organization, event, or product. Apple has set a goal to become carbon neutral across their entire footprint by 2030. Hence, for the fourth consecutive year, they have reduced their comprehensive carbon footprint up to 35% compared to 2015 when Apple's carbon emission peaked. In the past year, they avoid over 10 million metric tons from their emission reduction initiative. Apart from that, material selection is another way to reduce the carbon footprint of their products. Apple's strategy is to transition to material manufactured using low carbon energy and recycled content. They have prioritized materials and components that make up a large part of their carbon footprint. One example is aluminium, which in 2015 represent 27% of their product's manufacturing footprint. Apple started by prioritizing the use of aluminium that was melted using hydroelectricity rather than fossil fuels like coal. They also re-engineered their manufacturing process to reincorporate aluminium scrap. Apple then went even further to source 100% recycled aluminium, utilizing post-industrial aluminium waste generated during the manufacturing of Apple products. They are now selling 4 products with 100% recycled aluminium enclosure. As a result of this initiative, they have seen a 63% decrease in Apple's aluminium carbon footprint compared to 2015. This is some of the example of Apple products that are made 100% from recycled elements. Other than Apple, IKEA also have done their part towards the environment. IKEA is a Swedish-founded Dutch multinational conglomerate that designs and sells ready-to-assemble furniture, kitchen appliances, and home accessories, among other useful goods and occasionally home services. As wood is the primary material used at IKEA industry, they are always working to find new, innovative ways to reduce the use and waste of resources, including woods. The ambition is to eliminate waste throughout IKEA operation by applying the principle of circular economy. In 2020, there were 1,053,905 tons of wooden residues. Less than 1 per mile was considered waste. 67.2% was sold as pellets, briquettes, or other wooden materials, and the remaining 32.8% was used as biofuel for heating in our plants, thereby contributing to the high share of renewable energy sources used on sites. And it is one example of action taken in building up circular capabilities to more fully utilize the value of these resources. Excluding woods, IKEA industry generated 33,685 tons of waste in 2020 and recycled 81.4%, while 17% was sent for energy recovery and 1.6% to landfill. The focus is always on preventing waste, and IKEA industry is exploring how to reduce waste by working across units to better understand what waste is generated and how to prevent it. This includes working with suppliers on the packaging material they use. The remarkable waste reduction results in comparison to last year due to several different reasons, with the greatest impact coming from the closure of a few sites during the year and decreased production due to COVID-19. Other than that, IKEA also tried to increase recycled woods production capabilities. An important step in turning IKEA industry into a more circular business is the investment in a new recycling line in the particle board production unit in Hallsberg, Sweden. In early May 2020, the production unit changed its conventional ways of working and started producing boards partially made from recycled wood. The goal is to use recycled wood for 50% of their particle board production. This means using 200,000 tons of recycled woods, which correspond to a raw material savings of 590,000 trees. And using wooden waste material from, for instance, pallets or solid woods furniture will minimize the use of virgin woods and at the same time give waste materials a second life. IKEA introduced laminated vinyl lumber (LVL), which is an engineered wood product with up to 40% less wood consumptions. This new material can even replace metal in terms of strength in some applications, mitigating a significant climate impact. The process also generates less waste than many other processing methods and therefore contributes to good wood use. This so far shown is one example of how IKEA are using this new technology to create better, more sustainable products at lower cost.
The last part that we want to explain is about the existence of environmental law. Environmental law is a law that provides protection to the environment. Malaysia have been facing with numerous environmental problems such as air pollution, water pollution, exploitation of natural resources, and more. Hence, to face this environmental problem, Government of Malaysia has come up with some environmental laws and policies. Environmental laws that affect a business will depend on the type of that business. The businesses need to comply with these laws and policies. If they do not comply to it, they might be penalized by the authorities. There are a few examples of environmental law in Malaysia that we have discovered. The first one is Solid Waste and Public Cleansing Management Act 2000. The law is enacted to provide for and regulate the management of controlled solid waste and public cleansing for the purpose of maintaining proper sanitation and formalities incidental thereto. The Director General shall approve the construction, alteration, or closure of prescribed solid waste management facilities. The businesses in any kind of industry should dispose their solid waste through the correct channel, which is to the waste management facilities, not to any river or other places that might cause ecological or biological harm. The second one is Fisheries Act 1985. It is an act relating to fisheries, including the conservation, management, and development of maritime and estuarine fishing and fisheries in Malaysian fisheries waters, to turtles and riverine fishing in Malaysia, and to matters connected therewith or incidental thereto. It regulates the right to pursue and take or kill certain kinds of fish. Such law may restrict the days to harvest fish, the species harvested, or the fishing gear used. The businesses that are in the fishing industry need to comply with this law so that the population of the fish and animals in the sea or river are well balanced and not vulnerable to the risk of extinction. The third one is Mineral Development Act 1994. The act is enforced by the Department of Minerals and Geoscience of Malaysia. It is an act to provide for the inspection and regulation of the exploration and mining of minerals and mineral ores and for other matters connected therewith. The business that wants to enter into the mining industry need to apply for permits or license. Permits and license for prospecting mines, mining leases, and certificates fall under the scope of the state's respective mining-related legislation. If there is any businesses that conduct an illegal mining, they will be subject to disciplinary action by the authorities. The last one is National Forestry Act 1984. It is an act to provide for the administration, management, and conservation of forests and forestry development within the states of Malaysia and for connected purpose. These policies are designed to ensure that forest management areas should be protected from illegal harvesting, unauthorized settlement, and other unpermitted activities. If there is a business that do illegal activities that might give harm to the forest and violate this law, the business will receive a disciplinary action from the authorities.
That's all from us. Thank you for listening.